Hello and welcome to Who We Ood, an unofficial Doctor Who watch along podcast. I am one of your hosts, Cameron. In this evening, morning, whenever you are watching this, I am joined by my co host, Ben. How are you doing today, Ben?
Oh, I am wonderful. I'm
Great to hear.
hyped for what will be, as of recording time, in a couple days, Thanksgiving. The best, or I won't say the best holiday, but it's up there. Turkey dinner is like pretty much my favorite meal.
Really?
It's close. It's really damn good.
I love an Easter ham. I love an Easter ham. Like an
Ham's
Easter
good.
fucking a sugary ham is.
But turkey and gravy and mashed potatoes and stuffing, green bean casserole. I love me some green bean casserole.
Thanksgiving is fine, IMO. No, nothing bad about it. Nothing good. I think it's a fine holiday. I like it off. I like it just to relax and spend time with family. I have a weird Thanksgiving this year. Every few years, it's my birthday on Thanksgiving, and this is one of the years that's my birthday on Thanksgiving.
Oh,
So like, it's gonna be a weird experience. I forget what it was like last time, but like, it's just like, oh, I do remember. It was fucking. It's a weird experience because you're like, oh, it's my birthday, but it's like this. It's not like it. It's nice to have it off because yeah, I have off my birthday, but also it's like not really my birthday. It's more Thanksgiving takes more of the the focus on the day, you know.
yeah.
I was trying out. I did the math. My 30th birthday is going to be on Thanksgiving, so that's going to be a trip all to itself. Turning the big 3-0 on Thanksgiving next time it lands on Thanksgiving, which would be like in 6 years now. So that's going to be
Yeah.
fun.
Time
But anyways,
flies.
today we're going to be talking not about Thanksgiving, which everyone from UK is already clicked off from this because they're like, "What the fuck is this holiday? What's Thanksgiving?" All I know about is chips and what else do they know about chips and like Indian food? Like they don't give a shit about Thanksgiving. They don't know anything about green bean casseroles, Ben.
You guys are missing out. It's way better than like black pudding or whatever else you guys eat over there.
Do you know that they serve chips with their Chinese food? Have you ever seen like photos of British Chinese food?
I have not.
It is
I mean,
disgusting.
you can get French fries at a lot of Chinese places here. I don't do
But
it. It would be very silly, but
like,
you
inside
can.
the dish. Like, imagine right next to the Chinese food is french fries.
Like, instead of rice or something?
Yeah, like, I'm gonna send you a picture.
I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever heard, but I mean, come on, let's get serious. What the hell is that?
That's Chinese, like, food for Britain, and, like, this is, like this is how it would look like on the plate itself, which is, like, there's just french pies and, like why is there peas there as well on that plate? It's
I mean, you can
very
have
scary.
peas. It
Like but that other just looks like gravy and peas.
it is unusual. I mean, I guess it's just, you know, every country has its own version of food. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have I mean, I get probably somewhere, but the vast majority isn't authentic Chinese cuisine.
No, we
It's
have American
American
Chinese.
Chinese food,
Yeah.
and there's British Chinese food. When I went to Japan, I didn't. I don't think I did, but I could have had Japanese Chinese food, and it's all, tweaked to the palate, and the UK palate is a bunch of chips and gravy.
Did you try American food in Japan?
Uh I mean, I had my fair share of, like, cheeseburgers, but, like,
But, like, have you seen, like, those restaurants that I'm talking about that's, like, the USA restaurants with, like, the
no, I
USA
didn't go to any like
patties?
that.
One of them was, like I remember one of the videos I saw was, like, serving, like, a Trump burger there and shit, like, they're going real hard into the Americanism,
Yeah. I
Americana.
went to, like, 1 or 2, like, Swedish, I guess you could say,
Mm,
like, pizza pasta places,
mm,
which are different.
I could imagine. Was
Yeah.
it good different or was it bad different?
Different, different.
But anyways, today we're going to be
Anyway,
talking about The Brain of Morbius.
yes,
This is the well, we never do this, but it's the 84th serial of classic Doctor Who. Season 13, it first aired January 3rd, 1976, and last broadcast on January 24th, 1976. Thank God we're past those six-parters being a regular thing, Ben. These four-parters just go by so
I
quickly in
know.
comparison, not having 3 six-parters in a season.
Yeah, that's definitely it's for the best.
Oh, yeah.
Only six-parter when the story deserves it. Like Genesis. Spoiler, I did start watching Seeds of Doom. It works, I think, so far as a six-parter.
But then it doesn't. There's gonna be we're gonna run into a six-parter once we get in the Graham Williams era that we're gonna be like, "Oh, oh."
Really?
I would
Like
imagine.
a season finale that sucks?
I forget which one episode I'm thinking of. I think isn't Invasion of Time a six-parter?
I think so.
And I
That
heard
sounds
that's supposed to be
right.
that story is supposed to be rough,
After this, there's Towns of Wang Chang.
which is supposed to be not supposed to be. I know it's fucking
Yeah,
great.
the Invasion of Time,
Yeah.
the Armageddon Factor, Shada, technically, and then that's it.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, I
then we
guess
have
there's
and the two doctors. Two doctors kinda technically.
yeah, it's 3 40-minute episodes,
Yeah.
or yeah,
Yeah, you're right. Written by Robin Bland. Robin Bland, Ben, I don't know if you saw, is another case of a person that
a
doesn't exist.
pseudonym.
So what happened this time is Terrence Dicks, the script editor for John Pertwee, he was brought in to write the script, but then Robert Holmes had to rewrite it, and Terrence Dicks didn't like the changes and said, "I don't want my name on the script." Which the fun thing about it, like a little other add-on, is that, of course, Terrence Dicks wrote a lot of the Virgin books, not Virgin books, sorry, wrote a lot of the Target books, and he wrote the Brain of Morbius Target book. So he wrote the original script, Robert Holmes then rewrote it, and then he wrote the Target.
Interesting.
Which he didn't go back and change everything that he wanted in his visual draft. He just did an adaptation of the television story, which is very fascinating.
Interesting. What interesting game of telephone.
Directed by Christopher Barry. Christopher Barry, of course, last season directed Robot. Previous before this, he did The Mutants, if you can tell by their appearance. Did the Daemons and did the Power of the Daleks and went all the way to doing a couple episodes on the Daleks period.
He's been around.
Yeah, one of the goats of classic Doctor Who directors. And also is in the episode if you didn't see that as well.
He's one of the previous incarnations.
Yep. Also, Robert Holmes is also as well in that lineup. So Ben, what did you think of the Brain of Morbius?
It was good. I don't know if loved it per se, but really interesting concept. This time we've had spins on kind of like classic film slash literature. This one is kind of, I feel, a little bit a spin on Frankenstein. A lot of really cool looking sets, which I think is one of the highlights. Like that gothic mansion, the evil scientist in his laboratory. Such a great visual. Morbius's new body is really like grotesque to the point where I was kind of grossed out. It was definitely a little over the top in that aspect for me personally, but overall it was still pretty good. And I'm sure we'll talk about it in a minute. The Seeing the like flashes of the previous incarnations is quite interesting. What did you think of this serial, Cam?
I've seen this before. I've only seen it the once, so this was my first rewatch of it. I'm kind of similar to you that I think this is like a very good story. I'm kind of on the line of love. I maybe it would take another rewatch for me to say I love it. it does a lot of things that there's a lot of things about it that I love, but I don't know if it comes together fully at the end of the day.
Yeah. I don't think this is one of the all-timers.
No, but it's very solid.
Yeah.
Gothic horror is something that is often given to this era of Doctor Who. I think this is probably the story that is very much up there in terms of being the most gothic horror of the lot. It is, like you said, the sets, the the just the Frankenstein monster element to it, down to there's even witches over there that is doing this
Oh, yeah.
magic.
Doing chanting and rituals and
It has a great mood to the story that it feels like it is a it feels like it's has that spin on Frankenstein's monster, but it's also adding so many new elements to it with the Morbius being this previously evil Time Lord, and you have all that history there, and you have also the history of the Sisterhood of Khan and the followers of Morbius. A lot of great details in there, and it's definitely like we've talked about this before, or at least I have, that like Doctor Who works really well when there is like 10 ideas in a given script, and it's just jam-packed full ideas that it's kind of a little bit too many ideas, and this is definitely one of those stories where it's just bursting with ideas of things that it wants to add to the mythology and to this
oh, yeah.
world, and really makes it believable, like the setting of Khan and like the just the whole element of like this the connection of the sisterhood with the Time Lords and the Eternal
Yeah.
Flame.
It adds a lot to the lore of Gallifrey and the Time Lord.
Let's get right into it. First things off the bat, we got to talk about it. Were you shocked to see the mutt?
I wrote that down in my notes. I was shocked to see the mutt. A seemingly throwaway creature back. I think slightly tweaked, but for the most part, pretty much the same. And I think, does Morbius have a mutt arm?
Uh,
Or is that something
I
else?
think it's something else, but I think you could also make an argument that it could be. The mutt arms were like way smaller than Morbius's claw. If you look at pictures,
Yeah. Similar shape, but smaller size. You're right. But yeah, it was interesting seeing him back.
but it kind of makes sense in a way because that design was very good. And if you need to just have a throwaway monster at the beginning of it, it makes sense just to go to your history, go through your costumes, and say, "Oh yeah, yeah, we can use that one." And even the doctor can have a throwaway line in there talking about the mutants. So then after that, we get introduced to Solon and Kondo, but we'll save them for later. Then we have the introduction of Tom and not Tom, the fourth Doctor and Sarah this episode. Another experience of the Time Lords messing things up and
Yes.
not sorry, meddling around with the doctor's timeline and making him go somewhere that he doesn't want to go. Tom, of course, in that moment is fantastic, really plays it off like a stubborn child that doesn't want to do what he is told to do.
Oh, yes. I'm
And
gonna sit here and do nothing.
yeah, that is like one of those encounters that back and forth bickering is like what makes Tom and Elizabeth such a good pairing in this era of the show. And it's just dynamic, so dynamite and dynamic and just like yeah, all the adjectives in the world. It's fantastic.
Oh, yes.
And then they go, they meet up with Solon and Kondo. What did you think of the Sol let's start with Solon. What did you think of Solon this episode, Ben?
Very interesting. He's an interesting character because he is, like, obviously crazy and evil, but, like, there are many times in the serial where the Doctor and his motives are aligned, and they're kinda on the same team for little bits here and there, and that's always a interesting dynamic to see. Outside of that, Definitely a little bit of a Victor Frankenstein kind of character, playing God, trying to create life from, all these body parts. And is really just like a I think he does a good job as kind of a stereotypical crazy evil scientist. What about you?
Mostly agree with you. I think it's a little bit over the top of a character. I wish we had a
Yeah, a
little
little
bit
bit.
more of backstory of him and maybe some more like reasonings for his devoted love for Morbius. Why does he want Morbius to come in charge? Is it just to for him to rule the galaxy? But what is he gonna do that he supports ethically? I don't know. I feel like there could have been a little bit more dimensions to the character. And also like he gets a little bit too comical, well, I shouldn't say comical, but like a little bit too comically over the top in areas where like he gets just really like fixated over just I need that head. I need Tom Baker's head. I need it more than anything in the world. It's kind of becomes comedic, but like that's also kind of the charm of it is that it is kind of just laughing that this guy just really just wants this guy's head.
Yeah.
And
I think
then
his
yeah.
motivation is mostly just like he's a scientist. He
Yeah.
wants to, I think, mainly see if he can do it.
Yeah. There's definitely that element there if he wants to be this great creator slash inventor or doctor, whatever the fuck you want to describe him as.
Surgeon.
Yeah. And he wants to be known as this god, but like resurrecting this god like guy, but like I don't know. You could have added a little bit more to the why Morbius out of why this basically as like this most evil time lord that ever was basically. Why resurrect him? Like, that could I was saying, coulda added a little bit more to the character. Uh, and of course, with any, Frankenstein, we have to have his Igor, and that role is filled by Kondo. What did you think of Kondo this episode, Ben? Yeah, I agree. I think it kind of I like the dimension of it that the Solin took his arm and is using his arm to, for the Mobius experiment. I think that's a adds a little bit to the character because it's kind of a good to like you kind of know from the beginning that it's like when he's like, "Where are you gonna give me my arm back?" You're kind of like, "Oh no, he's not gonna give this guy his arm back." But and it's a fun like basically you set it up from like the very first scene, and then it's kind of the end cap of the character that he gets killed because he realizes that Solin took his arm, is not gonna give it back. He did our boy dirty. Like, I feel like we should just talk about it now. His death is very gruesome. I don't know if you pay particular uh, attention to the death, but for a, uh, I think at this point would have been like around 5 or 6 p.m. TV show. It's very gruesome. No, he was shot in, like, the stomach, and, like, this he had a skib, he had, like, I think it's a skib, I might be pronouncing that wrong, but, like, it's like he had, like, a big portion of blood comes out of his stomach when he gets shot. It's gruesome. Like, nowadays, like, you could never do that nowadays because it would just look like it would look too real without, like, all the studio lighting and all the studio cameras. Nowadays in HD, that would be terrifying for children.
Yeah, this is definitely a story that I think would be terrifying for children for many reasons.
But that was a particular one where they, really was going after it. Maria Whitehouse, which I don't know how much you know about her, Ben.
No, nothing.
Whitehouse in particular, sh like, you would know her from, you know the Pink Floyd song "Pigs"?
Yes.
In that song, there's the Yeah, it's pigs. It's there's the 3 pigs, and he mentions it. He says one is the businessman, one is the politicians, which is Margaret Thatcher, and then the third one's White House. You might be thinking it's American, he's talking about White House in terms of, like, the American White House politicians. But the lyric White House is for Mary Whitehouse, who was this old woman that basically was just the definition of a Karen. She was just calling up the BBC being like, "This is not suitable for children," and really big on censorship, for very much like the definition of somebody that was just like, "But think of the children." That was Mary Whitehouse. Just anything that she thought was not suitable for children, she would rally up and fight the cause that it shouldn't be for children, which of course she did not like classic
Mm,
Doctor Who for that reason. She said that that the Brain of Morbius contains some of the most sickest and most horrific material seen on children's television.
damn.
But I would say like
Yeah, I guess I see it.
but then so the doctor and Sarah basically just walk up onto the scary ass looking place and then decides to drink their wine. Which of course we also have to talk about that the doctor drinks wine in this episode, which remember we talked about that a lot in Day of the Daleks, where the doctor drank wine, and we were both like, "Wow, is that in the doctor's character or not?" Well, it's what the fourth doctor drinks wine. That is confirmed in this episode. Like you are warned, you do not drink or eat strangers' shit. And then the doctor learns the lessons. He gets roofied by Solon, and he's gonna get his head taken off. Then we get introduced to the Sisterhood of Khan. I guess we can talk about them now. What did you think of the Sisterhood of Khan, then?
Interesting. These kind of old allies of the Time Lords with who are take the elixir of life and live forever. Uh, interesting.
They're fun. It's cool that we had like this other element to the Time Lords, and it's cool that it kind
Yeah.
of adds that element of witchcraft to the universe. Um, which is always fun. It's also cool just to play up that idea with like the how the Time Lords do have a different interpretation of immortality than the Sisterhood of Khan, and that the Time Lords only use it if they need to. While the Sisterhood of Khan just lives forever because of the elixir of life. And of course, the Time Lords do not condone this. And then they basically have to do they're so scared about somebody's taking their elixir of life from them, and that they basically are murdering all these spaceships, bring them down on their planet and crashing them.
Yeah.
Which that's a cool element to also like give another reason uh why Solon is able to find all these dead bodies to be able to make his Morbius creature.
Yeah, and there's a interesting aspect that the doctor talks about where because this group is immortal that they have become stagnant and like resistant to change. They're not able to evolve without having to grow. And so the sisterhood has just stayed the same. And there's a sense later as like the elder uh sacrifices herself that the sisterhood is able to kind of move forward now.
So then
Um
basically throughout the rest of the story, it becomes a game of going from the Sisterhood of Khan to Solon and Morbius to the Sisterhood of Khan to to the Morbius and Solon. And it just kind of goes back and forth through the Doctor and Sarah, just goes back and forth between the both of them.
Pretty much.
And then, of course, then we are introduced to Morbius. That's kind of like the part two cliffhanger is Morbius brain in the jaw. What did you think of? Let's first talk about Morbius in the jaw. What did you think of Morbius in the jaw, Ben?
Interesting, creepy, gross. Yeah, it is a good effect. I'll give it that. But I was definitely grossed out. It is a pitiful existence.
I love the voice actor who voices Morbius. Who is his name? Michael Spikes. Michael Spice does a great job voicing the Brain of Morbius this episode, and that him with whatever modulation they add to that voice is fantastic. And then on top of it, I love the green bubbly water liquid that the brain is in, and then I love the little detail. I don't know if you caught it that like there's like
Of, like, the vocal
oh, yeah, the
cords?
vocal cords and then moving when he talks. I love that element to it of giving the explanation to how the brain is, like, talking. That is so
Yeah,
cool, and, like, it looks like just, like, this, like, white gunk just moving. It's I thought that was dope.
that was interesting, yeah.
No, I love Morbius in this episode. I think Morbius is a great antagonist for the Doctor, giving it also that element of the addition to the Time Lord mythology that like they had another rogue Time Lord that went even more rogue than the Doctor, and but also not someone as important to the Gallifreyan history as like an Omega. This is someone that was just a bad he was a bad boy, Ben.
Mhm.
But also famous enough that someone like the Doctor would know of him and recognize him and know that he would need to be stopped. I love that, like, the beginning sequence where sees, like, the bus, and he goes over, he's like, he thinks he recognizes that's a Morbius, and then later on, he fully realizes, "Oh, no, that's Morbius." So, like, I love that little, like, revealing the layers of the onion. But Morbius, what did you think of Morbius overall, man?
Uh, interesting.
More than interesting.
Uh, what?
Yeah, you've been using interesting. I like everything. You gotta.
But this is
I'm banning you from that word, but you can't say interesting.
but this is such an interesting story.
What makes it interesting, Ben? Go on.
What to say?
Well, you did hear what I said,
Yes.
like the history of Morbius, Ben, and the
Yes.
back lore of Morbius, which is pretty dope, and the voice actors dope. And you could talk about the suit more, like the Morbius as a creature.
It's definitely a I don't know.
Like, you got this, man, I believe in you.
Thank you, and thank you for the support. Can I say intriguing? Is that
Like,
allowed?
like a lot of gotta give me something, Ben. What makes him intriguing?
As he's kind of a new Time Lord for this small set of a pantheon of that makes up the Time Lord's mythology that we keep just seeing like little glimpses of, like Omega and the universities. The I guess we don't know it yet, but we've seen the seal of Rassilon adding this like. Sorry, I'm cast doing something. Crazy evil guy who had to be literally who had to be torn apart atom by atom because otherwise he would just regenerate and be fine. Someone who's that evil, it's a unique new character to the Time Lord mythology. And yeah, I'd agree the voice actor does a really great job. It's another kind of synthesized voice, but it sounds just unique enough from the all the others that have gone before, Cybermen, Daleks, etc. Guy, what's the guy?
Michael Spice,
Michael Spice does a good job.
a great job.
And he provides a he's a good element to for this story to have. If it was just Solon and Kondo, this story wouldn't be nearly as interesting.
No, it would not be, and definitely the like you mentioned beforehand, the monster Morbius is fantastic. Definitely one of those props where not props, one of those cautions where you go, the production team really just knocked it out of the park. It
Yeah.
is the it just kind of looks like something that is just cobbled together and looks like this grotesque
Viscerally
monster.
grotesque, yeah. A true monster. This
Yeah.
isn't like some, creepy looking alien. This is a true monster.
And, like, having the claw arm with the human arm, and then having, like, the antenna head with the brain still there, like, you can see. It's kinda just one of those designs where you just go like, "No, that's just an awesome design."
Hmm.
And, like, a design that you would imagine the kids would have been really frightened of back in the day.
Oh, for sure.
Back in 1976. What else is there to say about Brain of Morbius?
Should we talk about as carefully as we can, since I want to be unspoiled, the kind of mind battle in what we
Yes.
see?
But before that, I do wanna mention one thing. Before we move on to the Morbius doctors, I want to just mention I love the line of dialogue that they referred to the trope that they've basically been on the verge of the doctor dying and then the Sarah Jane being like, "He's dead! Oh my god!" They reference it. That's like,
Yeah.
why do you always think I'm dying? And like, I thought that was very, very funny for the doctor to say that, and then later on in the story, the doctor dies, and Sarah is so sad that the doctor is dead. I just thought that was very funny and showcases that that like Robert Holmes is aware.
Yes. This is not a franchise without tropes.
But yeah, the Morbius doctors, it's definitely a thing that makes you go, why the fuck did they do that? Why? Of course, if you didn't see the story, which like I was kind of wondering why you're still here, like 30 minutes something, 30 something minutes into this, having seen Bread and Morbius. We haven't really done a good job. Like I didn't even give a summary. We haven't done a really good job doing like a chronological like breakdown of the
No, we
story. We're kind of all over the place. But, anyways, if you don't remember, there's at the end of the story, there's a battle. There's like a mind battle that the Doctor faces Morbius in, and then in it the we see the third Doctor, we see the second Doctor, we see the first Doctor, but then we
it kinda
see
devolves, he goes back in
yeah,
time in his mind,
and
and
we
we
see these
see a
six,
whole
we see these 8 other Doctors that we have never seen before, and all of them are production members of the cat. Not the, it's all behind the scenes production members. Just to list them all off, in case you are curious, Ben, the Morbius doctors are George Galliceo, who is production unit manager; Robert Holmes, who's the script editor; Graham Hopper, who was the production assistant, who will go on to direct both classic and modern Doctor Who; Douglas Kemper, who was the director of Doctor Who; Philip Hinchcliffe, who was then the producer; Christopher Baker, who was the production assistant; and Robert Begg Stewart, who was another writer who wrote Planet of Evil, and also Christopher Barry, who directed this episode. And those are the Brain of Morbius doctors, Ben.
are any of them alive? Can they come back to do the
Well, yeah,
untold
yeah.
big finish?
I know for a fact that Philip Hinchcliffe and Graham Hopper are both alive, so they could come back and do. Now they can do
Yeah.
what we call the timeless child doctors.
Careful, Cam.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where the fandom also just kind of ignored it, I would say for fucking
30 years?
longer than that. Like there's 40, 50 years they ignored this shit. And then Chris Chibnall was like, ah, gotta fix that. Because I think it must have bugged him as a kid. Must have been like, I have to fix this. I can't just ignore it. But of course, there's also prehistory of this. That wasn't just the Timeless Child. How much are you aware of the other, Ben?
Uh, I think you mentioned it or him when we were talking for in our Three Doctors episode when we were talking about Omega and Rassilon and the kind of origins of Gallifrey.
Yeah. So basically, Lungbarrow, which is the last version New Adventures for the Seventh Doctor, or at least one of the last ones, basically
Don't
saw that
don't
the
spoil too
well,
much.
like how do you care about? Are you gonna read all of Virgin up to Lungbarrow?
I want to.
I don't think you can afford Lungbarrow. Lungbarrow, you didn't know that this is like a
It's
$300 book.
fucking sucked. I'm such a completionist. You've sent me, like, photos of someone who has, like, every Virgin book, every BBC book, all the Target. I'm like, "Oh, I wanna be that person. I wanna have that." But, like, the real bad ones are, like, Lung Barrow and The Dying Days.
Yeah.
Those 2 is, like, probably at least, like, $400.
Yeah, you're gonna be a it's gonna be a lucky eBay find if you find them. But, like, how much you want how much do you want spoilers for this thing that's not canon anymore, Ben?
I know it's a good book.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever get to read it. I could probably find an ebook though.
Yeah, you know you definitely can. All the ebooks are out there for our version new adventures.
Is it like the main thing of Lung Barrow, or is this just a component?
I think it's the main thing. Cause like, Lumbarrow,
Ooh,
not to get too much into it, but, like, it's like him, like, going to, like, the house that he was born in, I believe? I never read it, but I know, like, the summary of it, that he goes to, like, the house that he was born in, and then he finds out the true history of himself, and then just, like, finds out all this information. So I think it is just an info dump book, but I don't know too much about it.
wow. If you think it'll contribute to the conversation,
But basically, I already basically just said
wha
it, that the doctor is the other. So basically,
okay.
the doctor was a key factor of the formation of the Time Lord. And then, like, that basically described that there was doctors before the first doctor that was the other, and then it's like basically the doctor was more than who he seems he is. And then at the same time that there was
He
doctors before
isn't
him.
just a
Uh,
random Time Lord.
Yeah. And then the fandom just ignored that for many, many years until, I'm gonna say it because you already know that she exists. Joe Madden comes in and says that she is the Doctor,
Yes, the fugitive doctor.
but she does not know who Jodie Whittaker is, but Jodie Whittaker does not know who she is. So this is either a past or former Doctor, but it would have to be past, but it could also be future. I think it would have to be past actually. So like,
I my understanding is the concept is it's the fugitive doctor. It's when she's on the run. She stole the TARDIS. She's going.
but also it's not because it's like she needs to have the like it's not pre-Hotnell. I think like the way we're gonna see like I'm excited for Big Finish to have her as her series. We just saw like
Yes.
the first trailer just came out like the other day and it sounds awesome. Very excited to listen to it. But I'm
Yeah, we have so much of the war doctor, but this is the
yeah.
other doctor that we know
And
very little of.
and
I think there's like a comic, but I'm sure Big
oh,
Finish is
Big
gonna go
Finish.
nuts.
Chris Chibnall just gave them a big fucking hole. And Big Finish is like, fuck yeah, money. We're staying alive, baby. Like they were never they were the most happy when they found out there was a secret doctor in the timeline that they could hire. And also it just works out well that there was Joe Madden, who is just like already just from her, like the little bit we got from her in the TV show is just already everyone all the fandom is like she is already one of the best doctors. Everyone loves her.
I I saw she like is really enthusiastic about
Oh
it
yeah.
too, right? Like on Twitter, I saw like her profile picture is of her as the
Yeah, and then
doctor.
like her like banner photo is the she was like a little photo taken of a TV screen of it saying introducing Joe Madden as the Doctor. It's awesome because I don't she's not like a big actress. Like she's pretty much a like what you would call like a working actor. So it's like it's cool that she's like this was her big fucking break very late in her career. So it's like of course she would like really love this and lean onto it. And she's Doctor Who, Ben. The first Doctor Who of color in a woman, like, the second woman in the first Doctor Who of color. Like, that pretty big shoes. But anyways, I'm the big thing about her and the questions is that, like, some people also think it might be in the timeline of between 2 and 3, that she might be in that era of the show.
Oh, like a fugitive from the Time Lords at that point when they're after their blood or
Because she
once.
works for this thing called And the good thing about this is that this is so far in the past, you're gonna forget all this information because we're gonna talk about it once.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
So
couple
it's gonna
years.
be like it's gonna go on
So,
one ear, go out the other by the time that we get to it. But also, like also the same thing is that you're gonna be seeing so much of her in Big Finish by that point that you're gonna not be able to help. She works for the division. Division is also like so she works for the division, which I think is a factor of the which is like a part of the Time Lords. So the division might maybe when the Time Lords had the second Doctor, she worked also for the division at that point. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out with Big Finish. But also, I'm kind of hoping in some world that they don't answer too many questions because that's kind of the best thing about the Doctor is that there's just the fugitive Doctor is that there's just so many questions about her. I kind of like that mystery element to the Doctor. And of course, that's when the Timeless Child comes into it, which I don't want to get too much into info because, of course, you do not know about the Timeless Child and
yes,
that twist. But
don't tell me.
as you could probably infer, it leads us to believe, not leads us, it tells us basically that there is doctors before William Huntnell. You know that
Yes,
for certain.
yes, I understand that. That is all I know and all I wanna
And
know.
to the point, I will just say this one thing. No, I won't say it. But I feel like
Ooh,
I need to say it.
okay, okay. Say
But,
it
like, to
now.
the point that they have to show the Morbius doctors in The Timeless Child, which is the biggest just like, "What the fuck? How did" I remember watching that live just being like, "How many people out there that just, like" people in Britain that are just watching this on a Sunday afternoon, just being like, What the fuck is this?" Them just showing the pre-Hartnell doctors in the Brain of Morbius, like, why? Why, Chris? Like, Church Chibnall, you are fascinating for your creation of the Timeless Child. I am bewildered. We will get into this a lot by the point we get this. I might make a video of my own about the Timeless Child at some point on the Who channel. But, like, my God, insanity. You can put them back on, Ben.
Did you get it all out of your system
No, it says
finally?
that I might have to make a video about the Timeless Child just to get it out of my system. That might be coming in the future,
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen.
And you're editing, so I don't need to hear what you say,
No.
as long as I don't listen to this
Which will
episode.
be funny that like yeah, I kind of want to make a Thomas Shout video now so you could just see me rant because like that just proved to me that I still have I got energy for this. I could make a good YouTube video just talking about
Man,
my thoughts on the Timeless Child because it's certainly an
that's the
idea.
one thing. The way we're doing it, in for me anyway, there's a lot of stuff. It's referenced in the future and expanded upon, like with Pyramids of Mars as well, that as a chronological viewer, you can't talk about it.
Oh yeah, because like there's references to like the whole like talking about Lung Barrow and the other right. That was all basically part of this thing called the Cottonelle Master Plan. What the Cottonelle Master Plan's idea was to basically give it's during the Seventh Doctor's era, and it was basically to give the Doctor a little bit more mystery. So like there's tons of like mysterious dialogue in the Seventh Doctor era that we're gonna get to. That now you could say that it's all referring to the Timeless Child. So we're gonna run into the same issue when we get to the Seventh Doctor because there's so many lines of dialogue that's thrown in there of just like hinting at the Doctor is more than he says he is, or even he knows he is.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's frustrating that they did it. They weren't thinking, Ben, of the fandom. They weren't thinking that these people were gonna watch it in 50 plus years from now, going, Why did you do this?" So Ben, what are your cliffhangers this week?
Let's see. Episode 1, Sarah discovers the headless body of what will become the monster of Morbius.
It's a fine cliffhanger. It's kind of just your standard
Mhm.
cliffhanger.
The second one is Sarah finds Morbius's brain,
It's just kind of a repeat of the first one, just a different version of Morbius.
and the third is Morbius in his new body is sneaking up behind Sarah to grab her.
Pretty much just doing the same thing.
Yeah, probably the first one is the best.
Yeah, it probably is the first one. I agree.
I'm looking at my notes. I want to say it.
Yeah.
In episode 4, I forget the context at this point, but We have the doctor like ponders for a moment, and then we get like a snap zoom. I got an idea. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That was good. Okay. So Cam, how would you rate this episode?
I'm going. See, I was gonna originally go 8.7. I was thinking 8.7, but
Really?
I think that's a little bit too high. So I'm gonna go
That definitely feels high.
8.5.
I'm gonna give it like a 8.2. That's good.
Okay. And then further rankings in terms of Doctor Who viewers and the magazine, it ranked it ranked number where is it? It ranked number 13 in 1998. It ranked number 11 in 2009, 2014, and 2020. So it kind of makes sense. It kind of belongs in that upper echelon of 10th, sorry, of fourth Doctor stories. I could imagine this being in the top 10 for some people. And also for
Yep.
other people, I could imagine it being just on the edge of being in the top 10 slot. I could imagine a lot of people giving it eights and nines overall. So it makes sense for it to be in that high tier. Would you agree, Ben?
Yeah. It's quite good. Not not like top 5 or anything like that. But I can see why some people might like really love this
Oh
story.
yeah, I could imagine why some people would maybe even say this is their favorite Doctor Who story. I can understand. It
Mhm.
could be up there for like being like somebody because just like, oh yeah, I go home, I come home and I just pop that out and then very fond memories.
Yeah.
All right, join us next week for the Seeds of Doom, as Ben mentioned earlier this episode. And yeah, I hope you like and subscribe. Remember, we're on TikTok, YouTube, all those sticky machines. Yeah, interaction helps us a great load.
It does indeed.
Peace out, everyone.
Have a wonderful rest of your day.